Let's put our hands together and welcome the founder of Immortalis, the creator of the Prime Law, who's going to present you the vision of Immortalis. So everybody, please welcome Mark Hamilton to the stage. Let's go.
Hey, hello, OFMs. Just think, I can never call anyone but you OFMs. How's that? It's exciting. We're the OFMs. Fantastic. I'm really happy to be here. How have you liked the movement lately of Immortalis? Been moving, yeah. See, lots of thumbs up. Very nice. Yeah, we've been really moving. Things are happening fast, actually faster than I thought, but I never planned for anything less than this rapid movement, which we're in now. So I'm going to dive into my talk. I think it's probably about 30 or 40 minutes. As Wallace had said, it's an important talk because I believe this will be the talk that we will show important outsiders because it distinguishes us from others. We're meeting a lot of people now in this longevity movement. You know, we've been the secret society for all those years, and I'm starting to get a lay of the land now, meeting people, but always seeing why or what's holding things back and understanding that. Hopefully my speech, well, I'm sure it will open some eyes out there in this movement of chartered cities and free economic zones as to what really has to happen. Without what I'm going to talk about today, the progress is never going to be where it needs to be. And when I say where it needs to be, you all know what I mean by that, right? It's immortality within our lifetimes, not in some future, world, but in our world. So let's get started here. In moving this forward, moving toward the land base, because that's where the power is, we want to establish a chartered city or free economic zone with our own criminal law to govern our civilization upon that land. The criminal law would be one simple law, one supreme law, the Constitution of Immortalis. The name of the supreme law and Constitution of Immortalis is the Prime Law. The Prime Law banishes initiatory force from its civilization, including from its government. Excuse me, Wallace, my pencil right here. Thanks.
Oh, that's the pen.
I'll just use this. I like this.
Okay.
I like this. Like my pen?
It's my pen.
It's true. It's Wallace's pen. Nice pen. So the name of the Supreme Law and Constitution of Immortalis is the Prime Law. The Prime Law banishes initiatory force from its civilization, including from its governance itself. And the result is pure capitalism. The Prime Law would be the first constitution in history to do one thing and one thing only. And that's remove the negative, remove initiatory force. Everything else will take care of itself through the power of pure capitalism. We'll get a further understanding of all this as we go along here. Immortalis will be the first time a civilization could function as economists Murray Rothbard and David Freeman envision. This zone, Immortalis, would attract billionaire investors if I could guarantee them the Prime Law. And why is that? Well, they're investing hundreds of millions on, say, longevity research, for example. But it's all held back by regulations, legislation, litigation, all held back by initiatory force. And of course, that's what we're getting rid of. Now, what those billionaires investing in longevity want more than anything else is to truly not to die. I've done a fair amount of research on this. That's their deepest passion in life. I'm talking about, the Peter Thiels, the Larry Ellisons, the Sergey Brins, even the Mark Zuckerbergs. These guys, that's the greatest desire in their lives, even beyond their business. And the only place that could happen in their lifetime, is immortalis. I don't think they fully realize that yet, but think about it. Once they do, what's going to happen? All that money and energy is going to shift to the immortalis free zone. Immortalis would become the medical mecca of the world very quickly. Yesterday, I was talking to Jose Cordero, and I hope all of you have gone. If you haven't yet, be sure to go and see the interview, the excellent interview done yesterday with Cody and Jose. You can't miss that. And this is Jose's book, The Death of Death, and again, I really recommend getting this. And in this book, Jose lays out the case that the anti-aging industry will become the world's largest industry very soon. Now imagine the influx of wealth and brilliance to any host country, any country that hosts in an immortalis free zone. That's a drawing card, a very powerful drawing card, which I'll make this known to Javier, President Milei, in 3 weeks. That country, the host of an immortalis free economic zone, would experience the greatest technological revolution ever seen as a great brain drain happens, drawing the brightest, smartest in the world. The Elon Musk, the geniuses, the Sir Richard Bransons of the world, who just want to create and produce. All those geniuses of society will come to the host country of immortalis to function through the pure freedom of immortalis. And this could be President Milei's legacy for bringing this to the world, even before the United States. And by the way, just a side note, which I am going to bring up in my elevator pitch to Milei, is how much I appreciate what he's done in Argentina. Because I truly believe that he planted the idea that led to Doge, which is downsizing the American government. I believe Milei should get credit for that. Argentina, under Milei, could bring all of this wealth to Argentina. I'm talking about Dubai type of wealth. So America, well, we were the 18th century great experiment. Immortalis is the 21st century great experiment. Javier Milei could become the hero who brings prime law capitalism to the world. Now, all civilizations have all existed in the same dimension in which we all live, under a government, under a higher authority. That dimension of civilization was conceived from the very start of humankind. A structure, a hierarchy of who would be the higher authority, who would control others, who had the power and the acceptance of use of force, of who could initiate and set the standards through force over the people. Government is the higher authority. We have had many degrees and formats of that power of force of government, from laissez-faire capitalism, which is the lowest form of force, but it's still there, to democratic republics, to democracies, socialism, monarchies, dictatorships, fascism, communism, theocracies. Just key into ChatGPT forms of government to see how many variations of government there are. There's over a dozen, all of which are higher authorities, granted the power of force to use on its people. To date, the freest of those was laissez-faire capitalism. Laissez-faire capitalism still has a limited government, granted as a higher authority. Government is synonymous with force, as a higher authority allowed to initiate force on the people. Although greatly confined and limited in laissez-faire capitalism, the germ is there, and it will eventually spread, grow, and destroy. Initiatory force is a disease of mankind. The disease grows via the rule of man with force. It steadily takes over and eventually kills the nation. America was an example of laissez-faire capitalism steadily taken over by force. To date, we never had an anarcho-capitalist country, never had a foundation to build it on, never had no government, never had no higher authority, never had a foundation to take anarcho-capitalism off the pages of economic theory and build it in the real world. The prime law is the antithesis of force. It banishes force. Without it, you can never initiate force on the people. Force is the foundation of all countries to date. Banishment of force is the foundation of a never-before-seen country. All systems of government have the disease of initiatory force. Rule of man takes over. Free countries last, on average, 250 years. There has never been the foundation upon which to allow an entirely different system of civilization to build and grow. Anarcho-capitalism is an entirely new dimension of civilization that has never existed and needs a foundation to exist and grow upon. The prime law, the fundamental law of protection, is that foundation upon which a new dimension of civilization can and will grow. It removes all political higher authority. The prime law takes anarcho-capitalism off the pages of a book. By the way, this is Murray Rothbard's For a New Liberty, the Libertarian Manifesto, published in 1972, over 50 years ago, where he laid out the theory, the economic theory of anarcho-capitalism. He was the first to do that as the father of anarcho-capitalism, and some say the father of libertarianism. Let's see. So we've never had that anarcho-capitalism in wide-scale practice. Never, ever a country. We've only had force-backed countries. Never a country without force. Our prime law is the foundation to build pure freedom in the real world. We never had this missing piece for self-governance. That's the key here, self-governance. The foundation upon which to build anarcho-capitalism. There have been over a dozen other forms of government, all higher authorities, meaning all granted the power of force. So initiatory force is the foundation of all forms of government, of all countries on our planet. All governments are higher authorities, above the people, above the individual. The only form of government never to happen on our planet is anarcho-capitalism, which means no higher authority, no initiatory force, no government, no one above the individual, no one above the people. It has been conceptualized, idealized, but never actualized. Why? In all the centuries, in all the millennia, again, no country has tried true anarcho-capitalism. Why not? We have tried laissez-faire capitalism, early America, But that never lasts because a seed of initiatory force is planted, with government being a higher authority, albeit at limited levels, but that seed grows, as we saw in America. Big, ugly bureaucracy. A country never existed without that seed having been planted. That higher authority, that initiatory force. Now, freer civilizations grow into empires, but after 200 to 300 years, they collapse under growing authority. Again, why? In all the millennia on our planet, not once. Why not? Especially with our examples of prosperity through freedom, such as America, such as South Korea versus North Korea, such as Taiwan and Hong Kong versus mainland China, such as Singapore and Dubai. Obviously, freedom leads to prosperity. But why have we never gone all the way to pure freedom? Well, we've never had the prime law, the foundation upon which an anarcho-capitalist country could grow. The foundation banishes higher authority, initiatory force, and government. Mutual value exchange, voluntary value exchange remains. Here, all men and women truly are born equal. No person, no group, no government has higher authority, plain and simple. None are granted the power of initiatory force. So the rule of man cannot grow. The prime law ensures that no higher authority, no initiatory force, no rule of man could ever again control the people. Never again creep up on the people and take over. Instead, value creation and value exchange would build this purely free nation. The greatest values would quickly rise as their costs rapidly drop in this unburdened economy. As with all laissez-faire capitalism, while it lasted, this nation, like early America, prior to, and I'll set the measurement stick at Franklin D. Roosevelt, we would grow like America did prior to Franklin D. Roosevelt. We would boom and prosper. But this time, that beautiful upward prosperity curve, that curve wouldn't get yanked back down by the anti-civilization. This time it would just keep soaring to the heavens. This beautiful civilization has only existed in theory, idealized. The prime law is the missing piece to actualize this beautiful society. And by the way, we've all had a glimpse of that in Super Puzzle, right? The beautiful society. Therefore, I am bringing that missing piece, that foundation to enable us to actualize such a beautiful society as the Constitution of Immortalis. You need nothing else, just that one fundamental natural law of protection. And we'll understand why before I finish speaking here. By providing the foundation, securing the prime law under capitalism, then we have, for the first time, pure capitalism. Right? No seeds of initiatory force have been planted. Then we have the next and final evolution of laissez-faire capitalism. We then, because of all this, because of evolving laissez-faire capitalism to the next level, to the pure level, getting rid of all the impurities, right? Getting rid of all the impurities. I'm going to rename, rebrand our use of capitalism now. And going forward, it's now prime law capitalism. Ooh. Prime law capitalism, buddy. Just got an ooh over here from Wallace. So I'm writing a small book. I've let the Ascenders know and the OFMs know that I'm writing a small book for the internet called Immortalis, Moving Beyond Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Dubai. I know that sounds a little arrogant at first, the first time you hear that, but I'll talk a little bit more about that and we'll see why that very likely could happen, is particularly with this pace that we're moving at here. This little book is going to present the massive foreign investments and development this civilization immortalis would bring. The foreign investments would boom, drawn to our first time ever pure freedom. FOMO is going to hit big time, fear of missing out. And the money is just going to come pouring in. It's just going to take one big guy to figure it out. One Peter Thiel, and then that's it. It's all coming in. One Patrick Friedman. I also realized Immortalis would quickly, among other things, attract the money of the world's richest people, who are market businessmen, not political businessmen, just for the freedom of development. Not to mention, the U.S. Senators and OFMs have seen one of my dailies where I talk about the structure I'm starting to lay out, the taxes, taxes, but the tithe and how that would work. And I'm not going to get into that. It would take a little too much time here, but it's just going to be so business friendly and so genius friendly. They're all coming in. We would draw their wealth. It'd be a great brain drain, as I said. And then we'd start seeing these cures to fatal diseases like heart disease, cancer, and aging. And by the way, talking with Jose yesterday, Jose Cordero, after Cody's interview, he is very immortality oriented, but he informed me that so is Malay. So that's just really good news, because now we're on a soulmate basis, which is going to be huge in that meeting in 3 weeks. Let's see. Yeah, they're just all going to come pouring into Immortalis, as you saw with Hong Kong and with the freedom there in that part of the world, and Taiwan and Dubai. When they have that freedom, a little bit more freedom, look what happens. Well, pure freedom. Just wait. Just you wait. Yeah, I really do believe that my seemingly arrogant title, moving beyond Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Dubai, is going to become reality. By the way, I'm an economics major myself, and I just look at the economics behind this, and it's going to happen. I'm gaining just some progress notes. I'm gaining some solid backers and financing, which is happening more quickly than I anticipated, which is a fantastic thing. I've taken on experienced personnel who have success in building charter cities and free economic zones. I have major banking connections now. I have salt-of-the-earth builders behind me, as represented right here by our very own Cody Dean. So he'll be with me in that meeting with Malay. I have, of course, millions of readers of my books behind me. And I have my 45 years as a consequential author and publisher of prime law capitalism literature all behind me. And I think I mentioned last month, Murray Rothbard actually taught at my alma mater, which he came on like a few years after I had graduated, which it was great, but I wish you were there when I were taking classes instead of that socialist I had to debate with constantly. And he was there from 1986 till 1995 when he passed. So we're going to take his theory and I don't have one to hold up to you, but my super puzzle, and we're going to make all this come into our lives now. And it couldn't happen any sooner. The timing is right. I'm ready. You're ready. Let's go. Now, the nice thing is, once we launch Immortalis, it'll never be stopped. Immortalis will be immortal. It'll be beyond the reach of politicians, bureaucrats, in the administrative state. And why is that? Well, the people are just going to love it so much that they won't be able to stop it. It will become known, as I've said, as the beautiful society, and another name for it will be the miracle on earth. And I would love to work with President Milei to make this happen and to create his legacy together. As Thomas Paine points out in Common Sense, complexity in government brings corruption. No one knows this better than President Milei. I mean, he's battling in a Keynesian government that was corrupted for decades. And so he's constantly in a fight in his government. So I just imagine for a moment, if I can present this to him properly, what a pet project this would be for him, to allow what he really truly believes in his heart and soul to happen right there in his country. And just like he beat America with his Ahuea and removing those agencies in the executive division of his government, he beat us because we're doing that now with Doge. This could be another one-up that he could have. But now back to Thomas Paine. As Paine points out, when civilization is simple, clear, and clean, there's no corruption. But when it's complex, such as what Milei's dealing with in Argentina, it's corrupt. It just brings corruption. Complexity brings corruption. The prime law maintains simplicity. Always simple, no matter how complex civilization itself becomes. The governing principle always remains simple. Simple, clear, and clean. No corruption. Let us look to the future of what a prime law-free zone would look like. And since the common denominator of Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Dubai is freedom, let us surpass them with pure freedom. Prime law freedom. With a president fully supporting and emotionally behind the success of Immortalis, there would be no stopping this leap of mankind. With President Milei believing in Immortalis, the title of my upcoming book is possible. Immortalis, moving beyond Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Dubai. Now, I looked up the word govern. I looked it up on dictionary.com and on Webster's. Here it is on dictionary.com. Govern. To rule over by right of authority. Here it is on Webster's. To rule, to exercise authority or power over others. Well, there you have it. External authority. There you have it. And external authority always leads to rule of man. And as I've said, rule of man is the disease of mankind. Even laissez-faire capitalism plants the germ of rule of man, as in America. But they do so to provide order. Even Ayn Rand kind of fell for that. You need to have order. And yes, you must have order. See, here we go. Here's the dilemma. You do need order. And anarcho-capitalism needs order. So therein lies why no country, this solves the question I was asking earlier, why no country's ever tried anarcho-capitalism. And therein lies why no country has ever experienced anarcho-capitalism. Anarcho-capitalism is incomplete. You must bring in order. But how do you govern without government? How do you bring authority without higher authority. It's puzzling, or better said, it's a puzzle with a missing piece. Now, this is where Neothink is expert at, coming in and finishing the puzzle, the missing piece. Here's the challenge. We must govern without a higher authority, without rule of man, without government. Seems contradictory. Seems like an impossibility, which is why we have never seen anarcho-capitalism. It has a sense of no order, right? Anarcho-capitalism. It has a sense of no order. It has a sense and a very real fear of chaos. So the breakthrough to order with higher authorities, to governance, let me say that again. The breakthrough to order without higher authorities, to governance without government, to rule with no rule of man, without rule of man, is the prime law constitution. The key is self-governance under the fundamental natural law of protection. The prime law is the master puzzle piece that solves that puzzle, that brings it all together, that brings anarcho-capitalism from theory into practice, being our immortalis free economic zone. In fact, anarcho-capitalism could never and has never become part of society because it is incomplete without the prime law and the order it brings to society without government. And that is why I am now advancing the term anarcho-capitalism to prime law capitalism. It must be prime, it cannot be anarcho-capitalism, it must be, henceforth, prime law capitalism. The key to this new dimension of society is to self-govern through the prime law order without any higher authority granted to man. No government, no small government, no group or person is granted higher authority. Therefore, the disease of mankind, rule of man, never grows, never destroys civilization. The prime law, which is natural law, not man-made law, governs civilization. The natural law of protection. Every dispute faces and is settled by the prime law, bringing order. Now, I was going to read to you, it's a very nice summary in my ChatGPT, very nice summary of natural law. But for the sake of time, what I'll do is I'll ask you all after this meeting to go on chat or any AI and key in explain natural law or more information on natural law. And it will do a very nice job on laying it out so you fully understand what natural law is. And once you do that, then I want you to imagine the beauty and benevolence of a civilization run by natural law. You know, America came closest. That's why America was such a beautiful experiment. Our founding fathers were heavily influenced by John Locke, bringing natural law into our founding documents. I find it all throughout our founding documents. But without the fundamental natural law of protection removing initiatory force, the prime law, they formed a laissez-faire capitalist government which planted the seed of higher authority, granted man and government initiatory force. That seed grew over time into a massive rule of man bureaucracy, as does every laissez-faire capitalist nation or empire. We will see that this is going to happen to Hong Kong and Taiwan. It's coming. And I see it slowly happening now to Singapore and Dubai. That is why Immortalis will eventually move beyond those zones. I know our founding fathers were searching for the prime law. When I read their documents and their history, it's very clear to me. And using my Neothink mind, I know they wanted that. They were very hesitant with the Bill of Rights. You know, it's the beacon of freedom and so on, the First Amendment, but no one really understands, I guess certain historians do, the real struggle they had with the Bill of Rights. But they were under such enormous pressures, I've talked about this in the past with you, to hold this country together, that they settled, and yes, I said they settled for the Bill of Rights. Instead of adding the positives, the Bill of Rights, they could have, and they came so close to removing the negative, removing all forms of initiatory force, the prime law. Today, I am doing that. I am removing the scourge of mankind, initiatory force, and the disease of mankind, rule of man, with a new civilization, an entirely new dimension of civilization with Immortalis and its prime law constitution. This will be a self-governing civilization with complete order under the natural law of protection, the prime law. There can be no chaos, no lawlessness, as anarchy suggests, at least too many. Now we have only order, prime law order. Order was the missing piece to the puzzle and why we've never had pure freedom. There can only be law and order and immense prosperity in Immortalis. Goodbye, rule of man. Goodbye, corruption. Now, moreover, the simplicity of self-governing an entire civilization with 111 words makes freedom eternal, not temporary as in laissez-faire launch countries and civilizations, as was the case here in America. The volume, I say here in America, the volume of laws, regulations, and litigation in America, in American government, measures in the billions of pages. Immortalis, even if it grew to the size of America, would always answer to 111 words. That's it, right there. 111 words. The prime law. As Thomas Paine identified, complexity leads to corruption, as we witness in the massive fraud, abuse, and waste by way of Doge today. Simplicity leads to and preserves freedom. So I'm looking forward to my introduction to President Milei in about 3 weeks. And in our next All Citizens meeting, I'll tell you all about it. So we have a big month ahead of us. And I'd love to right now just turn the hands of time ahead 1 month to talk about it right now. And that's how I live my life. I'm always reaching, you saw that on one of my dailies. I'm always integrating the future into what I'm doing right now. I already see, I visualize, like in my old boxing days, I used to visualize the fight the night before, and the fight would likely go very similar to how I visualized it. I visualize this meeting with Milei over and over again in my head, and I just can't wait to jump through the ropes and get in there with him and have this meeting. So with that, I'm going to turn this back over to my son, Wallace. He has some more very exciting move. We're moving at lightning speed here. Love you all so much. Could take another glimpse at all of you. And I'll see you next month, everyone. We'll keep you informed as we go along here. Bye-bye, y'all. Love y'all. Thank you.
All right.
All right, come on in here.
How about that, everybody? Give it up for the man. Give it up for Mark Hamilton.
That's right. And
What a talk. What a talk.
Yeah, we're defining who we are And we need this too. The reason I decided to put together this speech is because we're meeting people out there and we need to let them know how we're different, and why they need us, why they need to join us on our journey. So that's it. I'm turning it to you now, Wallace. Have a good talk.
Let's go. All right. How was that? Everyone give it up one more time. Wow, that got me pumped. How about you? I'm so excited. Dang. Now I'm kind of like, oh, I can't possibly follow that up, right? You probably should have went last. Awesome. Man, this is it, guys. This right here is making everything what he talked about come true. The prime, can you even see that? What is it? Prime law capitalism right here. All right, 111 words. Man. All right. So, so exciting. And we're moving so much faster than we thought, huh? I mean, we had a 10-year goal. 10 years was fast. 10 years was fast. But things are looking like they're going to be happening much faster. And that's how we have to operate. Otherwise, if we do give ourselves 10 years, we're going to take 10 years. But if we give ourselves a shorter amount of time, we will accomplish this much faster. So we need to shoot for, just as much as possible in as short as amount of time. And even if we miss the mark just by a little bit, we'll still be much farther along than our original goal. So, things are happening much faster than we thought, and that's super exciting. So, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Dad, for that incredible defining talk, which really just defined who we are, what this vision is. And so now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an update, because I can't possibly follow that up with anything. So I'm just going to give you an update on what my experience was presenting Immortalis on a world stage. And then we have some amazing talkers who are gonna talk about something next. Cody, Gabrielle, Josh, and Alicia as well. So for those of you who didn't know, actually 2 weeks ago, I went to Honduras, and specifically the island of Roatan. And in Roatan, there's a charter city called Prospera. And in Prospera, I guess this could sound a little confusing, but in Prospera, there's a pop-up city called Infinita. And in that pop-up city within Prospera, the charter city, there was an event to bring people who are doing free zones, autonomous zones, pop-up cities, building governance infrastructure and crypto, and bringing them all under one big tent, so to speak, and really get to know each other, know what's going on in that world. And before that, nobody knew who Immortalis was, really. Nobody knew who we were, because we're just some outsiders. We're outsiders who've never been in that world, and all of a sudden, we're coming in and trying to do something that people who've been going at this for years are trying to do. And so me going there was the first time we've actually made ourselves and announced ourselves to the public. And I had a 15-minute talk there, and the feedback on that talk, what my goal for that talk was just to non-apologetically go in and say, this is who we are, and this is what we're going to do, and nothing's going to stop us. And after I gave my talk, I got incredible feedback. People in the audience were cheering during the middle of it, and people afterwards came up to me and really wanted to talk to us, and we were taken very seriously after that point. I made some incredible connections there and met incredible people. And the event was also very well put together. I was surprised. It ran very smoothly. So the organizers there did a great job. And being there, talking to those people, made everything feel so much more real for me as well. It's like, oh, these guys have actually unlocked a zone in a certain part. These guys over here unlocked a zone in another country. And seeing all the different pieces out there, like I met a guy who represented Liberland. I met the grandsons of Sealand, of the guy who made Sealand. I met a guy who unlocked a zone in Africa, a guy who's unlocking a zone in South America, a person unlocking a zone Southeast Asia, and a person working on a zone within the US. And I met people working on infrastructure, both digitally and physically. Physically, a guy even designing architecture and buildings for what would be for structures on the moon or on Mars. I met people working on governance platforms on blockchain and voting systems to prevent any type of fraud whatsoever, and investors, and all these missing pieces, all the pieces to actually build a new nation, a new civilization. A lot of them were there at that event. And so I've been connecting with those people and starting to put together those pieces and know, what pieces we need, when to use them, and building relationships with those type of people. And them building relationships with us as well, of course. So I will share my talk as soon as that's up. They're just, the editing guys, they have to get it right, and then they post it. And then as soon as that's up, I'm going to share it with all of you in the community. It would definitely be worth to check that out. And next month, I'm actually going to give the full version of that talk in our next All Citizens meeting next month, because I had to shrink that down into 15 minutes. I got it down to literally exactly 15 minutes and 0 seconds. But that talk, as my father put it, is one of the first talks delivered publicly from the C of U perspective. And so I want to give you guys the full treatment of that, and I'm going to be preparing that for our next All Citizens meeting. So nonetheless, it was a great experience, and now what I'm focusing on now, it's shifted my perspective, not if this is going to happen, and if, we get a zone unlocked soon. My whole thinking and all my actions are now focused on when we get a zone, when this happens. Because now I'm not necessarily trying to figure out, how are we going to get this? It's now that we have this, I need to be making relationships, building relationships with companies and people who are actually going to move there, who are going to build the infrastructure for this, for our territory. What companies, specifically, what companies are we going to bring in and going to be the first ones there? Cody, and he might mention this as well, but Cody and I are now starting to reach out and talk to biotech companies in the medical industry, to either open up a new location where they can just be free to innovate rapidly in a zone, in a prime law zone, and companies that maybe are new or just getting funded and need to actually move into operating, and they need a place to go. And so that's what we're doing, and we're starting to create a viable business model that we can present to the host country, to make it more, look more like we have all our ducks aligned, that we are going to make this happen and we can execute quickly. So that's been my recent focus right now, and that's what I'm moving towards. So that's why, meeting people who can build infrastructure and building cities of the future based on, consumer behavior trends and changes that have been happening, especially with remote work and things like that. So actually building the when we get this, not the if we get this. So that's been my focus shift, and I've been connecting with a lot of people strategically in helping figure this out. So, and of course, my father's been assisting with this the whole way as well. We're starting to reach out to some of my father's contacts to have them potentially relocate some of their locations in Immortalis when we have territory and when this happens. So really things are starting to look really viable, and the big picture is coming, and this is happening. So that's kind of my brief update for everything that happened in the last month. My talk in Roatan and meeting those people is really taking us, an order of magnitude closer to our goals. So I'm just so excited. I'm even like trying to calm myself down a bit. That's how excited I am with everything, because when this is happening, it is happening. So that's my update. And we also have an update, of what's going to be happening next month, which stay to the end to hear about that. But without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to our next speaker, which is Alicia. Who's our next speaker?
Josh.
All right, let's go, Josh. All right, everyone, put your hands together for Josh, who has an exciting thing prepared for us right now. Take it away.